Right now, your next thought is about to appear. You don't know what it will be. You can't predict it. You can't stop it from arriving. Yet, the moment it appears, you will probably call it my thought. Why? Welcome back to Untying the Knot with Trupti. I am Trupti, and today in the Mind Mystery series, we are exploring a question that sits at very root of the overthinking. Where do your thoughts actually come from? Let's start with a story. This is the kind of question that was once put to the Buddha. Someone wanted to know, where do thoughts come from? How did this whole mess of mental suffering begin? The Buddha didn't answer directly. Instead, he gave a parable. Imagine you have been shot with an arrow. It is stuck in your body, causing you real pain. But before you allow anyone to remove it, you insist on knowing who shot this arrow. Where did it come from? What was their intention? And what wood was it made from? And while you are busy investigating, the arrow stays exactly where it is, causing suffering. His point was devastatingly simple. The arrow is suffering, self-generated suffering of the mind. And our primary concern should be to remove it, not get lost in the origin story. The Buddha's point wasn't to satisfy curiosity, it was to end suffering. That's an important lesson to remember. So instead of asking where thoughts come from, let's first understand what thinking actually is. Most of us ask, how do I stop overthinking? But perhaps we are asking the wrong question. Before trying to stop thoughts, shouldn't we first understand what a thought actually is? Think about this for a moment. If I ask you your name, you answer instantly. There is no searching or analyzing. The answer simply appears. Why? Because you have heard and repeated your name thousands of times since childhood. The response comes directly from memory. Now imagine I ask you, what did you have for lunch last Tuesday? You probably don't answer right away. There is a pause. During that pause, your mind starts searching. It scans through memories, tries to reconstruct the day, recalls where you were, and slowly pieces together an answer. That moment of searching is what we call thinking. Now let's go one step further. Suppose I ask you a question to which you genuinely have no answer. Not something you intend to Google later, not something you are trying to guess. You simply recognize, I don't know. What happens in that moment? For a brief instant, the search stops. The mind is no longer comparing, analyzing, or reaching into memory. It becomes naturally quiet. Not because you forced it to be quiet, but there is nothing to be searched for. That reveals something profound. Thought does not appear out of nowhere. Much of what we call thinking begins when the mind starts searching through memory, knowledge, experience, and past conditioning. Neuroscience tells us that the brain is constantly comparing the present with stored information to make sense of the world. Vedanta points to the same insight in a different way. Thought is rooted in memory. Memory is built from past experience. Every opinion, belief, fear, preference, and conclusion is shaped by what has already been stored in the mind. That is why two people can witness the same event and come away with completely different thoughts. They are not responding only to what is happening now. They are responding through the filter of their own conditioning. And this naturally leads to a deeper question. If thoughts arise from memory, who is aware that a thought has appeared? That is where Vedantic inquiry truly begins. This is where things become really interesting. Where do your thoughts arise? Have you ever experienced a thought existing outside of you and then being placed into you? No. Every thought you have ever known has formed in you. It appears for a while, like a wave rising from the ocean, and then fades back into it. So whatever this me is, whatever you are, it must be prior to thought. Thought depends on you. You do not depend on thought. And this leads to something profound. Whatever it is that thoughts arise in, that which we call me or I, must itself be inherently free of thought, just as the sky remains unstained by the clouds that drift across it, and the screen remains unchanged by the movie that plays upon it. So too, in your essence, you remain untouched by thought. Now for the final step, where exactly do these thoughts come from? They arise from nothing, or more precisely, from nothingness. Not a void, not empty absence, but a nothingness that is not a thing, not an object, not a thought, not a sensation, not a perception. You must have heard that pure consciousness is the witness of thoughts, or thoughts appear in awareness. But awareness is not something mind can turn into an object of knowledge. That is why Vedanta teaches the method neti neti. Not this, not that. Negating everything the mind can grasp until nothing remains. This nothingness, or sometimes called pure consciousness, is what you are. It is inherently absolutely free. We all long for freedom. We resist anything that confines us, limits us, or binds us. That longing is not an accident. It points to something fundamental about who you are. We love freedom because at our deepest level, freedom is our nature. So if thoughts arise from memory and conditioning, another question naturally follows. What keeps this stream of thinking going? Vedanta points to a single root assumption that gives momentum to almost every thought we have. The sense of I that becomes identified with the body-mind and our personal story. The next video explores this root more deeply. We will look at what Vedanta means by the I thought, why it becomes the center around which so much mental activity revolves, and how seeing it clearly begins to loosen the mind's hold over us. The practical shift is this. Instead of being carried away by every thought, you begin to see through the process of thinking. Please like and subscribe. And if you are interested in going deeper, check out the Vedanta playlist available on this channel. Until next time, keep untying the knots of the mind.